Right, so let's have this discussion on a process that we call mitosis. So what do we want to know about this process? We need to know what this process is. So what is mitosis? What are the features of mitosis? And then we'll look at the process, the stages of mitosis, and then the significance. And lastly, we shall look at the difference between mitosis and meiosis. Remember, we are still having our discussion on growth. We already said that growth is when you have an organism increasing in size and also in number of cells. Okay? And this is achieved through a process called mitosis. Remember, we have cell division happening, which is basically mitosis, and then cell enlargement happening, and then we have cell differentiation that results into specialization. Those are the processes or the phases of growth. Now, we're looking at mitosis, which is the type of cell division that occurs in the growth of organisms. So with this type of cell division, we are having the nucleus and the cytoplasm of a cell dividing to form two identical cells, two identical daughter cells. That is very key. Two identical daughter cells. If you can repeat that, two identical daughter cells. Why do we have to repeat that? It's because that is what differentiates it from meiosis, which is the second type of cell division that gives us four daughter cells. But these daughter cells, four daughter cells, are not identical. Okay, so that is the concept to do with the fact that meiosis actually introduces in what we call variation. Okay, meiosis introduces in variation, mitosis does not. And that is why we say that we have identical daughter cells. Identical to mean that they look the same in terms of their genetic composition. So, two identical daughter cells. That's what we form in mitosis. So you have one cell dividing to give you two cells. So we have hinted on what we call meiosis, and it's again coming in here. It's very difficult to talk about mitosis without talking about meiosis in some way, because we are dealing with organisms that have basically two types of cells. What we call body cells and what we call reproductive cells or the gametes. Okay? So the body cells are the ones that we call the somatic cells. They are the ones that divide by mitosis to have growth. Okay, so a child is able to grow from a very young age to someone who is actually mature with different features of someone who was really grown. That growth is because of mitosis, and that growth is because the body cells are the ones that are dividing. Okay, and those body cells are the ones we call somatic cells. Now, we have other cells. These cells are the ones that allow us to produce young ones, and we call them gametes, or we can basically call them reproductive cells. The process through which these cells are made is what we call meiosis. And for example, I also said meiosis results into variation. And that's why you have children that do not really resemble you 100%. Okay? They will not resemble you 100%. Okay, they will pick some characteristics from the mother, and then they also pick some characteristics from the father. Okay, so you will have a blend. Okay, but also you also find out that actually they may not typically, for example, take traits exclusively from the parents. They can also have traits that are coming from previous generations. That is a discussion to do with genetics. What we are emphasizing here is that with many mitotic divisions, you have identical cells that are being produced, identical daughter cells. With meiosis, which happens in reproductive cells, what we call the gametes, the cells that are produced are what we call haploid cells. Haploid. They have half the number of chromosomes. Okay, unlike what we have in mitosis. Okay, so we say mitosis, you get diploid daughter cells. Okay, they have 2 sets of chromosomes. Okay, whereas with meiosis, you have the daughter cells having half the number of chromosomes, or only basically having only one set of chromosomes. Okay, so I hope that distinction is quite clear, and you can follow through the discussion in relation to how we connect meiosis to genetics, and how it connects to variation, and how it connects to evolution. Several topics connecting there. You can check that discussion in the other topics that I've just mentioned. Okay, so new cells that are identical to the parents. Meiosis have the number of chromosomes, okay, that are not genetically identical to the parents. Okay, you have 2 cells. With mitosis, please, why am I using this? With meiosis, you have 4 daughter cells. And with mitosis, you have 2 daughter cells. Take note of that. So why do we have meiosis being very important, mitosis very important? It is because it is the one that produces growth. Okay? Without mitotic divisions, you will not have organisms growing. Secondly, if organisms get injuries, that means that the cells need to be replaced. So mitotic cell divisions is the one that contributes to repair of the